and welcome to the summer edition of Leeds Lounge. We have an amazing guest brought to you today. As always, Lounge is brought to you by Leeds. It's not sponsored by anybody. If someone wants to step up, I wouldn't argue with that. Um, as always, I am Jordan Ulick,
And I am Dwayne Taylor.
and our special guest for you today is the one and only Stephanie Bishop. Welcome, Stephanie.
Oh, thank you so much, Jordan and Dwayne. And I'm so excited to be with you today. Again, my name is Stephanie Bishop, and I'm a 2001 Milken educator from Virginia. I started my career in 1996. I was a high school theater teacher. I was a high school theater teacher for 10 years, and I was a high school teacher at the time of my award in 2001. I did transition after 10 years into the wonderful world of school administration. And I was a middle school assistant principal and a middle school principal for 10 years. And then I became director of secondary education in the district. And my district is in Prince George County, Virginia. So I did that for 25 years. And my husband is also an educator in Prince George County. And we just love the county so much and the community and the students there. And we really thought that we were going to be in Prince George County for 50 years of our career. But in 2020, this opportunity came my way to join the Milken Family Foundation as vice president of the Milken Educator Awards. And I do miss being in Prince George County, but I just could not pass up an opportunity to celebrate exemplary educators across this nation and to impact education at the national level and to spread joy. It is what I love to do, and I get to do that on a daily basis in this role as vice president of the Milken Educator Awards. And through the years, I had been working on projects with the Milken Family Foundation and just never knew that those projects that I always said yes to would lead to this incredible opportunity today. So a little bit about our goals with the Milken Educator Award. We definitely want to honor outstanding K-12 educators that we see as being in the top 1% of this profession. And we are looking for educators who are innovating in the classroom, who are really exhibiting that professional leadership outside of the classroom in their schools and in their districts. And we're hoping that the award provides this lifetime incentive to remain in the profession. And we really focus that public attention on good news in education. And by spotlighting exemplary educators, we are hoping that young people consider the adventure of teaching as a career. So that's just a little bit about me and what I do.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know the Milken Foundation is amazing. It's near and dear to my family, as you know, with Christy. I think the work you guys do, just as you said, you get to spread joy
Yes.
for a living.
Speaking of
So
Christy, go ahead, Jordan. Like, give a plug right there. Just
Brag,
help it.
please brag on that wonderful Christy Ulick.
absolutely, she's amazing at what she does. I think something you get to do, Stephanie, that I mean, as I said, you get to spread joy. Dwayne, I'm not sure if you know maybe I'll venture is maybe the favorite part of your job, Stephanie, is she gets to travel all over the country and she gets to surprise all of these award recipients with not only the award, but the check and the recognition. Tell us a little bit about how that makes you feel, Stephanie.
Well, like you said, there is nothing like it. It's like I am Santa Claus for our notifications season to exemplary educators who have absolutely no clue when they are invited to this huge all school assembly where there are dignitaries there from the community that all of this fanfare is in their honor. And I have to use Christy Ulick as an example in Kansas. Of course, I knew what she looked like. I knew a whole lot about Christy going in to that assembly. But as I just looked at her in that gymnasium with those students, it's like, even though I knew what she looked like, it's like I was a magnet to her immediately. I could just tell from the way that she was positively interacting with her students and with her colleagues. I knew it was her, but she absolutely did not know it was her. And when I was looking out in the audience, I look at her a couple of times. I don't want to make too much eye contact with the recipient, but I could just see the wheels turning in Christy's mind. And she was wondering in that assembly, oh gosh, who could it be? As I'm building up to talking about this amazing educator, and she's looking around and she's smiling and never thinking that it was her, that she was the Kansas Milken educator that year, because she's an unsung hero. She was not seeking accolades. With the Milken Educator Award, there is no nomination process. There's no application process. We are very confidentially seeking the top 1% in this profession, and she definitely rose to the top as a Milken educator in Kansas.
I would definitely agree with that one. I like to surround myself with really good educators.
Yes.
Dwayne he is the Pittsco Teacher of the Year this year. Dwayne has been featured as a kindergarten teacher in what magazine was it, Dwayne? I always forget.
It was a newspaper called the New York Times.
There you go.
Oh, that little publication. Yes.
If you've heard of it, but no, the like when doing a little bit of research on, because I haven't had the opportunity to meet you, Stephanie, in person. So like doing a little bit of the research going into this, the number one thing I wanted to say to you is thank you so much for the time and investment that you put into recognizing true talented teachers out there and pouring your heart into that. But now, after hearing this story, like I'm so jealous of you having that opportunity to experience the true joy. Like I imagine there's nothing like that. So being able to break that news and being one of the happiest moments in that person's lives. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, Dwayne. And it's interesting about recognizing educators because these are people who are already doing incredible things. Their plates are totally full. But after this recognition, there is this drive, to do even more and to be an even better educator. And I just wish that more educators could feel that and have that same experience, so that more would want to do more and to be better for our students every day.
Before we jump into some of the questions, Dwayne got to experience a little bit of what it was like to be a Stephanie at our last Leads conference. Dwayne, how much was it? Over $2,000 worth of donations that you gathered to give away?
You're right. Yeah, I was in charge. I'm the person. I don't mind going out and begging. So it's a lot easier to say no to somebody over the phone. So I always go out in person and just ask, how much do you love teachers? And we've been very, very fortunate to have local businesses and everything that would support us. So that was
Oh, that's fantastic.
I
And
mean,
and
like
the money is a nice thing. And even with the Milken Award and what you're doing, Dwayne, but it becomes so much bigger, than the money when you are creating this network, of exemplary educators like what you all are doing with Kansas Leads.
and that's one thing because we recognize that not everybody can be a Milken Award winner, but going to this Kansas surrounding ourselves with the amazing people on this, it's been what we needed for our profession.
Yes.
I think that's a great segue into kind of the first thing I want to talk about. What do you know about Leads, Stephanie? Like, what do you know about it?
I know that some of our Milken educators are involved with Leads, and I know that there's an incredible group of exemplary educators where you all are doing professional development across the state of Kansas to really improve the quality of educators in the state of Kansas.
And it really hits on what you were just talking about. It's about connection. LEAD stands for Linking Educators Across Districts. And it's all that we are not in this profession alone. We can rely on each other for ideas and all that kind of stuff. So I absolutely love it. And it's been a good thing for me to be part of. And I think it's amazing that they let me be part of it. So
Well, it could definitely be a model for other states. And I don't know if you all have ventured there yet, but I could definitely see you all presenting and sharing this with other states, especially considering the success that you've had in creating this connective network.
and Kansas is lucky. Dr. Watson is a big proponent of the leads, and we are paid through by ESSER funds right now. But he's like, even when those, if we don't get those back, or when those go, he wants to figure out how to continue what we have here, and we kind of have a goal as a team of it's more of a we want to make a movement. It's not a conference; it's a movement. How
Mm,
can we make a
mm.
movement that we can, really get this going and showcase things and learn things. So
And if anyone can continue and find that funding, it's Commissioner Watson. I will say I feel very fortunate to partner with him with the Milken Educator Awards in Kansas. And he's such a natural at celebrating great educators. So, of course, he's very much aligned with Kansas Leads and your mission and celebrating the work that you're doing.
I think the real thing I want to talk about today, Stephanie, I think you have a unique opportunity with your job. You get to see education from across the country, and you get to see great things that happen every single day. I think right now it's really easy for educators to worry. What's happening at the Department of Education, what's happening with money, what's happening with behaviors. But there is great things that happen every single day across this country in the classrooms and in districts. And I would just kind of love some insight on like what are some of the great things that you're seeing as you get to do your job and spread your joy?
Okay. Well, I get to go into schools and give these incredible awards and be part of these huge, celebratory assemblies where you just see students going wild, staff members going wild, just so much fun. But that is just such a small part of the award, and even the $25,000 that's unrestricted, to our recipients, that's also just another small piece of what educators can connect to in our network. So what I'm seeing across the country is I'm seeing Milken educators, these exemplary educators coming together because they want to collectively impact teacher retention, teacher recruitment, teacher quality, because all of our Milken educators, like individually, they are amazing educators, but collectively, they are a force for change. So when I started at the Milken Family Foundation in 2020, so I'm going almost going into about 4.5 years here now. I started working very closely with 4 states on state network initiatives to kind of just see, like you said, if we could get momentum going, if we could start this movement. And we did. And I'll just use West Virginia as an example. They really wanted to impact students who were in their Educators Rising programs or Grow Your Own programs, Teachers for Tomorrow. They're called different things in all different states. And so they actually put on a 2-day conference for Grow Your Own students in their state. And they have grown from having 30 students, high school students, attend their conference where Milken educators are providing them with these high quality workshops and panels and roundtables. To this past year, they had 150 high school students who are enrolled in the Grow Your Own programs. And so you can just imagine the impact that they're having on the pipeline in education in the state of West Virginia. And that's just one state. And now, because of the work that's happened in those states, we have almost 30 states involved in initiatives to impact teacher retention, quality, and recruitment. So we are really seeing that this is turning into a movement for our Milken educators. And what it does is, you mentioned that negativity. It's like you can totally tune out, all of that negativity, and you think about what you can control, as a dynamic educator moving forward. And so that's how we keep our focus. And it's just so great to be in these meetings. And I'm in these meetings daily, and we meet, regularly. You can just imagine when you're working with 30 states on initiatives. And I'm going into these meetings and they're always positive. I mean, people are coming forward, with solutions to education. And one thing that Dr. Jane Foley, our senior vice president, always says is, our network is something, it's the teacher's lounge where everybody celebrates each other, and you just never hear any negative talk. And I know that that's probably what you are experiencing, with Kansas Leads, people who really want to come together. They're adding something additional to their plates because it's meaningful work and it's impactful work.
That's something Dwayne and I always talk about. I think that this comes up like almost every single Leads lounge, but it's like the way we have it set up. It's usually Friday night is like, hey, let's hang out, let's listen to this band,
Yes,
let's do trivia, let's have this, and then Saturday is the actual like conference, and these people give up their weekend
yes.
willingly, and the
Mhm.
energy and the positivity, you know. I think one of the great things that I think we learned during COVID, like Dr. Watson talks about how, he went to his trusted bank of educators and was like, "Hey, how much time do you need to figure out what we need to do to make education work not in a classroom?"
Mhm.
And he and the state and Watson relied on those teachers to do it, and teachers were successful.
Yes.
I think if you
Just,
you you empowered
yep.
individuals, you empowered us to make the decisions that we need to make, and we completely flipped what education looked like in what 2 3 weeks. It changed
Wow.
everything of what we needed to do, and I think that's the power of that connection, and all of that is you get everybody in the same room, and you have a common goal, and great things can happen.
Yes, you were empowered and you were trusted to do what you needed to do. And I love the model that you have for Kansas Leads. It's really important for you to have that first day together, as educators, so that you can pour into each other, before you pour into the other educators, who participate in Kansas Leads.
Yeah, because that social part of it is huge because like we know one another like we're getting to meet you now where it's we meet on social media or we email each other back and forth, but seeing meeting in person making
Yes.
those genuine connections on that first night that makes the next day so much easier because
Yes.
then we're willing to dive in and work with one another and share our ideas.
And I know they're socializing that first day, but I bet you're also talking shop in just such a fun way, as you're socializing.
And like you said, like it's a celebration. It's the sharing the great things that we're seeing in our classrooms and within our districts and within one another. Like even our Kansas Leads team, like we learn something new about one another, even though we've spent so much time with each other over this journey. But it's like learning from one another, like things that whether or not one of us is a third degree black belt in martial arts. So those kind of things that just blew my mind. So
That's Dwayne's
And you're
favorite
making
fact.
friendships that last forever.
I have a quote that it's my, if you want to know my leadership philosophy, my people philosophy, my classroom philosophy, it's by Franklin Roosevelt. It's what I live by. And it's people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And
Yes.
that's when that connection really comes into place. Because if you don't have that connection with your students or with your colleagues or with the people you're trying to empower, they're not gonna want to listen to you.
Right.
They have to know you're in it with them and that you care, and then they're going to be more inclined to buy in and listen and all those things. So
Yes. At any position in education, Jordan, that works.
they relationships, I think, are everything in life, and especially in this profession. It just
Yeah. They're
with
at the
kids
core.
and parents and teachers and administrators and central office and all that stuff. Uh,
Yes.
so Dwayne, let's see. What is some? I was talking to Benjamin Eccleberry the other day. Benjamin Eccleberry is one of the finalists for the Kansas Teacher of the Year, Stephanie. And
Okay.
he works in my building. And he's talking about how like Frontneck just seems to win that commissioner's award all the time. How? Like what do you guys do down there? What's the secret? What's is there something in the water?
It's everything that you just said about relationships. We are a small town, around 2,000 people, but it's the school is the community is the school. It is that we've worked hard to build that relationship with our community members, with our families, and every we the and that's something that I've said in past leads lounges and conferences that we go to. I know that not every teacher, not every school has the support that we do, but it's the when you go to these conferences, you have that support in that moment. All of it, everyone in attendance is there for one another. But that's the secret to what we do. That everybody genuinely cares about one another. From it starts with leadership and then it trickles all the way down. The students can feel that. The families know that when they send their kids to school, they have no concerns, they have no worries at all. So that's the number one way that I would say to if you're wanting the success and everything that we are experiencing, it begins there. It's that building that trust and strengthening those relationships.
Well, I think you're the fact that you're all one campus too absolutely helps. You as a kindergarten teacher, you get to build that relationship in kindergarten, and then you get to see them all the way through high school, and you keep building it and growing. And
That's one of the greatest things of my job of where I work, obviously because of support and everything, but it's that having pre-K all the way through 12th grade all in one building, all on one campus, just still being able to see that because I've done this for a really long time. I've taught for 22 years now, and I've seen I'm actually this past year I had a student of or a child of a former student kindergarten student. Yesterday, Paige, my 12-year-old daughter, had to have two teeth pulled out. Her new dentist was my in my first kindergarten class. So that was pretty awesome there. But yeah, it's being able to see those kids still on, if not a daily, a weekly basis, making my way over there and seeing them and keeping those relationships alive. That means a lot.
and Dwayne, I'd venture into saying there's probably very little turnover in your building, right?
You don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's a major thing too, is because you, as an administrator, as you can start an initiative and then you can actually build upon that. You have the same people on a regular basis versus, if you have a building that or a district where there's a lot to turnover, like, okay, now these six are over here on the mission, but now these four are way down here. We have to start back over with them. Like you can grow, you can expand. I think that's also a big thing too. Let's see, Stephanie, I have a question. What is one positive change that you have seen in education recently?
One positive change that I have seen is people's willingness to collectively work together on solutions. I started in education in 1996 at a time when people, especially being a high school teacher, where definitely people were working in silos. I mean, that was just the culture at the time. But wow, it has been so amazing just to see people's openness and willingness, to share, great ideas, and to work together, to positively impact the profession. So that's definitely one real positive change that I've seen actually over the course of my 30 years has just exponentially gotten better.
I would say that's changed even in the course of my 11 years because I was six, by the way, when you started teaching. I'm not sure how that makes you feel. Um, but I think over the course of my 11 years, just people's willingness to be open and honest and learn from each other and work with each other. I I think that's another positive that came out of the pandemic and what we had. We couldn't do it alone, and we realized that when we come together, we can do, amazing things.
Um, Uh,
Absolutely.
Stephanie, a colleague of mine that I teach with in Frontenac is also on the Kansas Leads team, Tim Vesco. We were able to come down close to your neck of the woods there to the Ron Clark Academy. And we brought back, coming back from that, we brought the house system that they run there at our school also. So that was one of those when you spoke of the coming out of their silos, that reminded me of the Ron Clark and his story. Um,
Yes.
that was an amazing experience also.
Oh, Dwayne, I'm so glad that you were able to go to Georgia, and I hope you were able to go with a team when you went. And just there's so many components, of that house system, like where students just really feel connected. Every student wants to belong, and they want to be connected to you and to the school. And that house system really helps them do that. And there is this little element of competition of sorts, but still, there's still this holistic feeling of belonging.
Yeah, we divided up the house into four houses, and then within those houses we have house families. So
Yes.
each teacher, and we designed that purposefully so that every student has at least one more adult that checks in on them on a near daily basis, just so they know that there's one more person that's in their corner other than just their classroom teacher. So it's been an amazing, amazing process for us.
And Dwayne, did you meet Kim Bearden when you were in Georgia?
We did. I had met Ron Clark at another conference before. He unfortunately wasn't able to attend while Tim and I were there, and we didn't know why. It was secretive why he wasn't there. We later found out it was because he was air. They were taping the Survivor. It was when Ron Clark was a contestant on Survivor. So, but we did get to meet Kim Bearden and hear her story. So, oh, so inspirational.
Yes, she and Kim Bearden is a Milken educator.
Mhm.
We had something similar in my school. So we're the company with Panthers, and we have what we call prides. And so every month, the idea of connecting with another adult, every month, every teacher has a pride that's made up of at least one student from pre-K through sixth grade. And every single month we meet and we do activities together. And it's just the idea of it gives you another adult, it gives you another kid to build a connection with in your building and all those
Love that.
things too.
Yeah, great.
Well, Stephanie, we are a high class operation here, and we have the free version of Zoom. So we got about 8 minutes before it's going to kick us off. So if you had one wish for educators, if you could give one thing, and if you could do one thing, what would you do? What would you wish for education?
I think I'm going to have to coin a phrase from one of our Milken educators, Dr. Angie Bessendorfer in Missouri. And if everyone could just push themselves to be 10% bolder in this profession, just imagine with that 10% what you could do just exponentially to impact the lives of students and to really help our students find and discover their own why. I think we're all pretty strong, in our why, but helping them, to discover theirs.
That's powerful. I think we all have every person, every student, every teacher, every colleague has more in them than they truly
Yes.
believe. And I think that's one thing I think the Milken Foundation does. And I think one thing that Leads does is trying to help people realize like their potential. You have so much more in you. You just have to realize it.
And that our profession, like we don't have a lot of people that actually celebrate themselves. That I mean, that's our nature is like pouring our heart into our students and finding their successes and everything. But not too many have the megaphone out, like talking about all of the amazing things that they themselves are doing or sharing their own stories, those kind of things. So the work that you do gives them that opportunity to share those things. So again, thank you so much for that.